Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Jon Cheney. Jon Cheney is the CEO and co-founder of Utah-based Seek, which delivers best-in-class augmented reality content and services to companies all over the world. Their proprietary, intuitive AR solution optimizes 3D models and then makes them accessible on any device. Seek's patented tech makes the creation, management, and distribution of 3D content easy and effective by unlocking its value across every platform. Well, good afternoon, Jon. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Brian. Excited to be here.
Awesome. I appreciate you jumping on, and I love these things. My audience is obviously getting tired of me saying that all the time, but this is truly amazing. And I've got a bunch of podcasts today. So thanks for jumping on. We're going to jump into the questions and start to learn a little bit more about you. So Jon, you've got quite the career in sales as a leader, and now you're the founder and CEO of Seek. Could you share with our audience the secret to your career growth and what inspires you?
Fake it till you make it, right? That's probably been a good mantra. I just, when I walk into a room, I might not know what's going on, but I pick up quickly what's going on and try to figure out how to turn that into something good. And I think ultimately the best thing when you're, especially in a sales career, the way that you get good is you just listen, right? You just see what the other person says and then address their needs in a real way. For in terms of what inspires me, so many things. I personally am a huge outdoor person. I love going on adventures, not just because I love an adrenaline rush. I mean, I'm a whitewater kayaker. I love mountain biking, I love all those things, right? But I just feel like I almost like taking other people on adventures with me more than I like just doing adventure for adventure's sake. I love seeing people stretch themselves. And in the types of activities I usually get out and try to do, people are typically facing some sort of, hey, they're just on the edge a little bit. They'll do it, but they're a little uncomfortable. And when they get past it, experiencing that with them is something that really inspires me. And that is actually why I started Seek, which doesn't make sense because Seek started out, Seek is a technology company. We're a SaaS company, but we started out as a treasure hunting company, and had a few pivots to get to where we are now doing augmented reality, which we could certainly save that story for another day.
That's awesome. I love the fact that you're it's like a parallel, your adventurous lifestyle, and you align that with your business and seeing other people's potential and bringing them along for the journey. I think that's awesome and certainly appreciate that. That's something I had not heard before, but I think it certainly resonates with your story, your background. So I appreciate that. And Jon, let's talk about the pandemic, right? Now that it's starting to lift, what are your plans for growth going forward? And will it be any different than the last 14 months?
With augmented reality specifically in the pandemic, there was definitely an acceleration. We were very fortunate to be in the position we were. We had a good leadership position in the market, great customers already. And what the pandemic did is it accelerated, that discussion in the boardroom to say, hey, we've been talking about augmented reality. And all of a sudden, we had furniture companies come to us and say, we're 95% in store, 5% online. All of a sudden, we're 100% online. What do we do? Help, right? And people don't know what this looks like in their house, right? So augmented reality was obviously significantly accelerated by the pandemic, and I think there was a permanent shift to online. Obviously, people are going to go back out in the world. People are going to go to the office, and we're going to continue to coexist as humans in the real world. But there's no question that augmented reality has been put into the spotlight, and those plans have already been set in motion by many boardrooms. And we're just going to keep pushing and growing. We're in a very exciting, frothy market right now. Of course, there's so much going on, but augmented reality is really finally has its footing. And so at this point, it's continue to, build upon the foundation that we already have and grow this thing to be really big.
That's amazing. We've heard so many stories on this podcast about people literally pivoting, like that word has been worn out, honestly, but truly people had to figure out a way to move forward and get through the pandemic, and either you die or survive. And that's how it was for a lot of business owners. So I appreciate your share on that. So Jon, obviously you're leveraging some new and emerging technologies in your tech stack. Is there anything specific you might be able to share with us today?
Yeah. So I mean, augmented reality is the main gig. What we focus on is maybe not as sexy as some of the, if you get on LinkedIn or if you just go and you Google cool augmented reality stuff, you're probably not going to find Seek necessarily. We're kind of the boring infrastructure behind the scenes, but that's really where all the money's being made. Maybe I shouldn't share that secret, but there's agencies and all kinds of fun people that build neat dragons coming up over buildings and, games that you can play with, Pokemon Go, all that stuff. And they're great, right? They're making money, they're doing good things and really driving the industry forward. But what we do is we kind of act behind the scenes to help large companies and small companies, really of all size, create, manage, and distribute that content, right? Augmented reality content. I mean, 3D content is it's much more difficult to deal with. You can't just, open it up in Google Drive or Dropbox and preview it and play with it and do something with it. You open it and it says, well, I don't know what to do with this file, right? And so it's a new technology. It's a new medium that obviously with things like 5G, faster internet speeds around the world, and of course, this increased emphasis on remote, where 3D and augmented reality are going to play a bigger and bigger part in our world, in everything from shopping, which we power a lot of e-commerce, to education, to entertainment, to advertising. And for us, we don't really care what it's used for. We can help and we do help all of these different industries really scale or manage and scale that content so that it can show up on the platforms that people are using the most.
That's awesome. I appreciate you kind of sharing a little bit of behind the scenes on what Seek does and how you are help businesses. Most appreciated. So Jon, let's talk about a little bit about you, Jon Cheney. We want to know a little bit more about you. Can you share something from your career experience that might be helpful for those looking to grow their career in leadership or entrepreneurship?
I know this has probably been said a lot, but networking is big. And it's something that I haven't done very well in the past. But the more I do, let me give an example. Just talk to people, figure out what they're up to, and you're going to find things. And don't ever judge somebody ever. It's probably the best advice, but definitely not before you talk to them, right? I can't tell you how many times I'm at a trade show or I'm at something and some kid walks up to me. I remember specifically this one kid walked up to me and I swear he looked like he was 17 years old, baseball cap backwards, just looked like someone that wasn't going to really be much to me. But I just, I was kind, talked to him, and all of a sudden realized that this guy had something like 40 million Twitter followers. And I mean, just some crazy influencer that I didn't realize. And he had a business where he could help companies grow. And when we first started Seek, we were actually an app, and we ended up doing a deal, and he helped us get our first 150,000 users in the app. I mean, it was crazy, right? So scrawny little kid comes up, all of a sudden makes a massive difference to our company. I had another a lady walk up, and she had kind of some dreadlocks and whatever. She's kind of maybe a different style than I would normally be like, oh, hey, that's someone I'm going to really just jump in and talk to right now. She comes up, turns out she works for Samsung, unbelievable person, $350,000 of contracts later. I mean, she gave us our kind of, lift off to start doing the first big things. And so give people a chance, I think, is a huge thing. And if you do that and you're kind to everybody, it's amazing what they'll turn around and do for you.
I think that goes a long way. And that goes without saying is, and I think the saying's been around in all walks of life and all cultures is, treat people the way you want to be treated. And you're absolutely right, Jon. I think we've all had that experience where we kind of put some bias in our head initially and then decided, what the heck, I'm going to talk to this person, find out it's one of your best connections ever. So that's certainly a gem. And I hope anybody that does listening to this podcast does take that to heart. So I do appreciate that. And Jon, it was a pleasure having you on today. And I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Thanks so much, Brian.
Bye for now.